Now, across Texas, the issue is.
I'm Greg Grugan in Houston.
I'm Stephen Dial in Dallas.
Ho, 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 I'm not Santa. I'm Rudy Koski in Austin, and this is Texas, the issue is.
Riding a wave of outrage over uncontrolled illegal immigration and lingering inflation, Republican Ted Cruz easily captured a third term representing Texas in the United States Senate. A victory punched into overdrive by an unprecedented crossover of votes from our state's burgeoning Latino population. We spoke to Cruz about the path forward on immigration, deportation, the Texas economy, and the prospect of brokering peace in Ukraine and the Middle East.
How will life get better for Texans with Republicans in charge of the White House, the Senate, and the House of Representatives?
Well, listen, I think there is a clear mandate coming out of this election. Number one, we will secure the border. I think Texans and Americans are fed up with the open borders we've had these last 4 years. That is going to end, and I'm going to predict it's not going to take a year or even 6 months to secure the border. We will do it in January and February of next year as the new president and new administration comes into office. That will be front and center. We will also get the economy moving again. We will get inflation under control, and a critical part of that is going to be extending the tax cuts and making them bigger and bolder, and ending the administration's war on energy, their regulatory war on oil and gas. That's going to end on January 20th as well, and we are going to see Texas leading the world in producing energy, and American energy dominance is a big key to job growth in Texas and to lowering inflation for everybody.
Former and future president has promised deportation of those who have no right to be here. What do you think that policy and that mission will look like in the next 12 months?
Well, I think we will see on day one a series of executive orders from President Trump that end the open border policies of the Democrats, that end catch and release, so that when illegal immigrants are apprehended, they will be put on a plane and they will be sent back to the country from which they came. I think we will see that policy reversed immediately, and we're going to see the numbers plummet immediately. I think the Trump administration is going to prioritize the most dangerous illegal immigrants. They're going to focus on the murderers, the rapists, the child molesters who have been released by Joe Biden and the Democrats. They're going to focus on Venezuelan gang members. They're going to focus on the more than 500,000 convicted criminals who are violent criminals who have been released. And we're going to apprehend them, and we are going to deport them, and we're going to keep families safe. In terms of long-term reform, I would love to see legal immigration move to more of a skills-based legal immigration system where we lay out skills that we need for the American economy to benefit American workers. For example, telling people if you want to rise on the priority list, go and get an engineering degree, go get an electrical engineering degree, go get a computer science degree. We need nurses, go train as a nurse, and that ends up benefiting Texas and benefiting the American economy.
On the challenge of ongoing global conflicts, Senator Cruz offered this bold prediction.
Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and the Democrats inherited peace and prosperity. We now have two simultaneous wars waging abroad. Both of those wars will come to an end in the next year, and I think we will return, I hope and believe, to peace and prosperity.
And in regard to the election's landscape-altering shift in Latino political allegiance, Senator Cruz had plenty to say.
The Latinos in Texas have gone red.
Yes.
40% swing among Latino men. Can that be sustained? What do you and your party have to do to keep them in the fold?
And it is amazing how allowing 12 million people to invade your community and invade your home changes people's voting. And I think in South Texas, they're saying, all right, we ain't for that. And I'm going to make a prediction. I think in the next 2 years, we will see more than a dozen elected Democrats in South Texas switch to being Republicans.
Okay, guys, my one-word description is expectations. Stephen, what's your word?
Mine, house money.
All right, Rudy, lay it on me.
Greg, I'm going to go with hen house.
All right, then. Plenty more to unpack, so hang with us. The Fox Texas Trio will be back on the other side of this break. Welcome back. Victoria Senator Ted Cruz doubling down on multiple campaign pledges, fueling sky-high voter expectations of the incoming Trump administration and a Republican-controlled Congress. Totally secure border, mass criminal deportations, tax cuts, oil patch prosperity, and even world peace. It's a lot to promise. Rudy, what are the chances they can deliver across the board?
You know, Greg, listening to Senator Cruz brings me back and makes me think about that old John Wayne movie, Rooster Cogburn, where they had the big confrontation and that line, bold talk from a fat man. Well, some bold talk from the senator there, certainly. If they get 50% of that list, you know, I'd expect to see Senator Cruz and all the other Republicans doing a victory lap around the Capitol there in D.C. The border wall, some type of immigration crackdown, you know, certainly that's going to come. It's going to be interesting because all that's going to be challenged in court, too. So we'll see how that plays out. The question for me and many analysts is what type of political fox is going to be in the congressional henhouse? Thus my word. Since the 80s, conservative voters, they've been calling for big changes like a balanced budget, eliminating questionable port projects. You know, among the examples this year, I was researching funding for underwater pest control and money to renovate an opera house in Bernie Sanders' district. So will these new GOP foxes gobble up those kinds of budget expenditures, or will the smart old foxes find ways to guard their henhouse, protect their golden eggs that they send back to their districts? Maybe, Greg, maybe a little bit of both.
All right. Yeah, stump speeches are one thing, governing is another. Republicans have promised a great deal between control of Congress and executive orders. Does the ambitious Trump-Cruz agenda seem doable, Stephen?
I mean, does it seem doable? I would think that people who voted for Republicans overwhelmingly in some of these races, I would think they think it's doable. And we're going to have to see. Republicans are going to have to put their money where their mouth is, and they got 2 years to do it, not 4 years to do it. And we know after certain swings, the country swings back in a way. And so I'll be interested to see what happens in these 2 years. As Rudy mentioned, the border is something that Republicans likely will be able to tackle. We already know after some dragging of the feet by the Biden administration, when they took action, things decreased. Things are totally different in Texas. It's still a problem, but it's different. And so will Republicans be able to get the border under control? Sure. But some other things we'll have to wait and see. And so Republicans have 2 years to put their money where their mouth is. It's really less than 2 years.
All right, Rudy, you've been covering Texas politics for more than a couple of minutes. Senator Cruz called the Latino red swing a landscape-changing development, and he predicted a substantial number of defections among Hispanic lawmakers who feel compelled to flee the Democratic Party. Is he on target or just blowing smoke?
You know, I think Stephen's right. You know, the political pendulum swings more than a kid's teeter-totter. So, you know, you're going to have to be careful and see, you know, what's going to happen there. But you can't ignore what's happening in South Texas and other parts of Texas that used to be blue strongholds. The Hispanic business and church community growing and no different from other similar racial groups here in Texas. They want low taxes. They want less government regulation, less government in their lives. So if the GOP just stays back to basics, more defections could certainly happen because, you know, the Democratic Party leaders and liberal activists, they're still trying to spin what happened in November. In 2025, you can expect to hear more from the Democrats claiming that this election, that loss was nothing more than just male voters rejecting a woman candidate. And that push to expand things like gender identity and especially into women's sports, to the Democrats, you know, they say that was a minor political issue. The problem for the GOP is all this infighting that's going on and the extreme policy that they're pushing. That could prevent a big flip-flop.
All right, tax cuts, cheap energy, lower inflation, mass deportation, world peace. It's a lot for Republicans to deliver. That said, how do battered Democrats regroup, Stephen? Do they come out swinging or just wait in the weeds and hope Trump and company make some mistakes?
I think a little of both. Now, as it pertains to Texas, Democrats are going to have to start small, maybe work from the bottom up and not just try to hit a big swing or a TKO with a splashy race, but do some groundwork and work from the bottom up. And then nationally, I think Democrats are going to hope the Trump administration has a couple of slip-ups, which could happen.
You think that too, Rudy?
Yeah, I think that it's a perilous walk for both right now. They need to right their ships. And in the way that a lot of analysts are looking at this right now, both ships, Democrats and Republicans, taking some water.
We'll end it there. You can see the interview or any of our past interviews by going to our YouTube pages.
And keep the conversation going with us on social media.
We're heading into a new year and the start of another legislative session. We are ramping up and getting prepared. We'll see you next year.